got a big fat drum. Big fat drum. I've got a big fat drum. Pounding so bad.
So we're just talking about the reactive agility and the lead into, like, you start with isolation into integration.
Yep.
Through teams, whatever, with the strength training, but also with the ladders. I said the ladders, but also like the progressions of stock standard pre-planned movement into reactive agility as you get into season. So what I was going to quickly talk about is that this is the same format I'm using with my boys in pre-season.
So in our hiatus,
yes, in our hiatus,
you picked up a soccer team.
They did.
Tell us about the soccer team.
So basically, I was contacted by one of the basically the admin staff. I think he's the president or operating officer. One of the guys anyway. Contacted me and said, "Hey, we've seen what you do. We've been watching from afar. Do you take boys on as well? Because all my stuff was promoted as women and almost exclusive to women. And I always have taken boys on. And I said, yes, I can take boys on. But my priority is always the girls. So what I'm doing with you guys is not going to come at the expense of a women's team at this time. Okay, and then so within that process of talking to them, we basically went through what they wanted, how they wanted it, what I could offer, how I would see things running, and then basically whether that would marry up with what they were expecting into the preseason. So I've always gone with preseason programs because a preseason program can be 12 weeks. It's a minimal commitment from a team perspective. They can go, cool, 12 weeks, and then you can do what you want. I've always provided the option of I can manage through the season. I like to do that. This team came to me and said, like, we've seen what you do. We've talked to people on the outside as well, not just through socials. And said, you're good. Let's have a chat. So I went and had a chat with them. And then I took the head coach, the operations manager, and then, I think Sasha, I don't remember your official title, but talked to the three guys and I said, basically what happened in the previous season was the football coach was also doing conditioning and run-throughs, and they had a program to follow from a guy who used to do stuff with soccer teams. So they were following that run program, and I said, so what's your strength program like? What's your injury prevention, whatever? And then I basically said, look, here's what I can do for you guys. This is everything from injury prevention, pre-season program, to obviously strength and power leading into the season. And then, so what happened from that is we went away. They came back to me and said, cool, we've had a think about what you provided us. Can we have a chat, like another face-to-face? I said, all right, coffee's on you. So they took me out for coffee. We sat down. I said, cool, here's the prices. Here's what I would offer them. And with the first team of the season, or the first team in a new league, I always offer an exclusivity or non-exclusivity clause. Okay, so the way I run things and my vision for S&C into the future is that you're not going to get one person at one team. Just doing that for say 6 months, especially in field sports. Put it this way. So especially in field sports where you're looking at one person runs one team for 6 months, and then for 6 months they do nothing. It might be 9 months. Then for 3 months they do clean the gym, whatever. So in the off season have some time off, whatever. Whereas I'm like, my shit is 24/7, 365, and I'm at that high level. I want to work with different teams, still field sports, still sports that come in, and like I put the effort in, and I know so all the time I'm on, and all the time I have to stay up to date with what's coming out. And so as part of this, this process said exclusivity, non-exclusivity. Now like no worries, we like obviously exclusive price is a little bit higher per session, and they come in and said non-exclusive, that's fine. And we want you for the whole season. So 12-week preseason, about 12-week, 13-week preseason, and then you got 22 weeks of games in season, plus cup games and other added games that come in there. So it works out to be about maybe 26 to 28 weeks, depending on how far you get the finals. And I was like, no dramas, let's chat. And then from that, we basically come to an agreement where I would then run, not just S&C, so I see levels. I think we talked about this the other day, where I see strength conditioning as a certain point, and then from that you're looking at your performance roles. So like your role here, your high performance manager role, where you're looking not just at the strengthening and the conditioning and the physicality. You're also looking at recovery. You're also looking at mental health. You're also looking at the big picture of it. And so I said, cool, I can do stuff, and that's basically what they wanted. Someone to come in and take complete control of the physical side of things, so the head coach Michael can then focus on football only. And so,
which is what they do.
which is what they do.
They're
You know, that they all specialise. So I'm specialist in my area, he's specialist in his area, and if all the specialists work together, the whole thing grows and the whole team gets better.
So where did this team finish last season?
Fourth or fifth. I think they finished mid-table. I did check up on them in the reserves. I think it's about fourth or fifth. The plan is to then help the teams in this league get promoted to the next league. So the way football soccer works in SA is that you've got the A League, then you've got the NPL under that, so Premier League. Then you've got like a State League 1, State League 2, and then leagues below that. And then from those leagues, if you finish top 2, you then get promoted to the next league up, and the 2 at the bottom get demoted down to the bottom.
So what league are these in?
State League 1.
So these will go to NPL next.
NPL next, which is like the level below the top level.
So like an SANFL or a
Yes.
Premier League.
Like an SNFL or a Premier League. It's exactly and that's where they want to be sitting. Once you get to there, obviously you can start to you can build a lot more as a club, and they got like ambitions, which is fantastic. And so we're really connected on that. And they're like, yep, non-exclusive. We don't care if you go seek other teams in the league or not. And I said, look, I'm not going to seek other teams. If they come to me, I'm not going to say no, but I can't seek them. And then let's make it happen.
Yeah,
So then I went out and I did fuck ton of research, like endless amounts. It was like hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of stuff. Like, what is best practice? What am I seeing that I can implement with the scope that I have, the hours that I have to work with them, and then how can I implement things in the off time that they're not with me, they're still thinking about, so they're also going to improve.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we're officially 2 weeks into pre-season. Our third session is Thursday night, so tomorrow night. 2 weeks into our official pre-season, but before that, I'd already written them and given them a 4-week program, pre-season program to do, which was a running conditioning and also a strength and power-based program. So injury prevention / strength / a little bit power work.
Give us an idea on what that would.
That one was, we started with, say, barbell hip thrusts, pad-off presses, a couple floor presses. We did some rotational work. Basically, similar to what you mentioned with the boys, where we're hitting multiple planes, multiple angles, and real just base movements that I went through. That it was a live document that I sent out. This is a little bit of how I work. So, live document on Google Docs. Then I filled that out for the 2-day sessions, and then they had the run conditioning program as well. As part of the strength program, every like exercise that I wrote down had a direct link to YouTube, which would explain the exercise. Sometimes there's some fucking terrible ones on YouTube. What I would do, ones that just went for like someone explaining an exercise for like 12 minutes, which is what things I found, I would say, here at this minute, look at this 1 minute, that's the exercise, do that.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to contact me, and not that they didn't want to contact me, but like it was just getting to know movements.
Yeah.
How many did that program? I don't know for sure. I know for sure one did, but I said to them that you must get this done before we go into the next block, which is your start of preseason. All right,
So
I'm now facilitating.
Where you're at now, can you see the people who you
Yes.
think? Yep.
Guaranteed.
It's pretty obvious, right?
It's pretty obvious. You can see. I know where they should be.
Yeah.
I know what their level should be at, and I can see the movement efficiencies or deficiencies.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So I kind of go, this is where I wanted them to be. This is where I want them to be. This is where I kind of expect them to be, and they're kind of in the middle. So you can just. And so then from that, as part of the preseason now, what I've gone into is I've got basic full control. So compared to what I would do with the girls, within my teams in the past, we've had one strength session, and some teams I might write the program for that they can then facilitate, or very rarely I'll go out and facilitate a session. So it's usually that was done in the gym. This one is we want you there, no worries. So Monday nights is our strength in the gym. Tuesday nights I literally do half an hour just sprint work before training. And then Thursday nights we've got an aerobic conditioning component at the end of training. So they do the football work first, then I come in into that. So as part of that, I thought, cool, I need to see what they're like before I can really put my program down and know where they need to be at. So I've gone, cool, I've looked into a lot of rugby conditioning, a lot of rugby movements or not strength training in particular, more conditioning and field-based drills, because I find rugby is very similar to soccer, not in regards to mass, all right, but
a long way off from mass.
A long way from mass, like we're getting very, very different. But in regards to short explosive sprints, you need to you're putting in 10 to 20 meters at a time, high intensity, and then your running backs also have to have that agility. Obviously, it's not as closed and tight, but you still need to have that ability to stop in a dime and turn and go. Right? And so I thought, cool, I'm going to use rugby. Took some stuff from basketball, took some stuff from AFL, and kind of amalgamated that into my current protocol, my current systems, and was like, cool, well, which of these work well for what reasons? So the strength training program we're doing is a very basic program. It's just a little sort of like, I say a circuit, it's not really a circuit, but it's a strength-based part, so they come in, I'll facilitate. And then the sprint work is what I'm really focusing on at the moment, because as part of that, what needs to happen for soccer players to outlast the pack is they need to be efficient in movement, right? Which is what we talked about. But the efficiency of movement has to come from acceleration over 5 meters. All right. So if you can get that on point, then already you're going to be someone who's not as efficient over that first 5 meters. So if I can get even 2 meters ahead of you, that gives me heaps of time to get a ball, turn, deliver, look up, to play. And if then 10 players can do that, all of a sudden you've broken the game up.
Yep.
So the first part of our pre-season program, I'm looking at about 4 weeks. And so I said second week in, our first part is to ensure that their movement is efficient through the drills I'm giving them. So it's almost like a constraints-based approach where they have to move a certain way, but I'm not telling them you've got to move here, here, and here. I say you've got to step in line with the cone. Run. Right? And so that's the only thing they've got is they've got to step in line with the cone. They can step in line.
What do you mean step in line with the cone?
Okay, so one thing that I've taken from rugby is and I've seen it I used previously as well, is an acceleration ladder, right? Where the cones are set up at specific distances, incremental increasing distances from say 1 meter up to the last one's cone to cone is about 1.6, 1.8 meters. And if as they run, they've got to step in line, their foot in line with each cone as they progress through, because what that does is that it teaches them efficient acceleration. So each step should start from short to long until you get to top speed, which should occur over the first 10 to 15 meters.
Yep.
Not top speed, but like that initial process of getting up to go should occur over that period of time. And so if I can give them a drill that they think is like acceleration, we're going to get fitter and faster, which to me is more technique based.
Yep.
They're going to put in what they can, and I can get out of what I need to get.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so then from that we go into our like just straight line sprint work.
Do you think that would work for my sport being a much shorter field, court? Or was it more of a big field?
Yes, I definitely think it will.
Yeah.
I definitely think it would. We would modify the distances, and I'd also look to modify the angular direction that you might start from. So with the boys, I'm just doing at the moment, especially in preseason, we just got straight lines.
Yep.
You know, but you could also look at take off, left, right, whatever angle in 360 sphere you want to go with. I definitely think it would. So I can show you through that. That's fine. Not putting it up publicly at the moment, so but I'll show you through that.
It's going to be private for now.
Private for now. So it would definitely help. But you'd also modify the distances because on average, soccer players are a lot shorter than basketball players. Right?
It's a fraction.
Touches. Right?
You don't get many 7 foot plus.
No, very, very, very rarely. So you'll modify that, but you can definitely. So what I'm trying to teach them is efficiency of movement before I then can overlay in the next block that I've got planned. Okay, now you've got efficient movement. We can now go speed of movement, or we can now go strength on movement, depending on what part we're looking at, whether it's gym or field-based work. And then from that, once we go speed or strength on movement, then that takes us to Christmas, which is a 6-week block. Then after Christmas, we're looking at now we're going to start hitting different angles. So we're going to start doing change of direction a lot more. We're going to start doing a lot more like curvilinear runs. We're going to start doing a lot more of stop, start, go, turn, twist, reactive agility as we progress towards the season.
Yep.
So it's that kind of basic plan where we are starting from a fundamental base of movement, progressing into a sport specific, as close as replicated as close to the game as we can within the constraints that I provide them.
What progression or overload model are you using? Is it undulation or is it linear? Or
It's an undulation model.
It is.
Yeah. So we're looking at with that the model. So on that for load monitoring, I think I showed you the other day the spreadsheet that I made up.
Yeah.
Right. So shout out to Heli Truthkovic for helping me with this one. I've got a spreadsheet the boys got to fill out, but all the load values change depending on how they adjust them. Whatever. That's Josh's stuff. Hit me up if you want to talk about that. But yeah, so undulating model. So we're looking at a 4-week progression. And then we're looking at the 5th week is going to be like a bit of a deload week, and then we're going we're peaking into Christmas. All right, so then go in, have your Christmas lads, and come back and then we go from there.
So the Christmas is almost that deload there.
Christmas is, so it's basically a double deload with one peak week.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a double deload with one peak week, and then we progress from there. And so there is, we are doing fitness testing in that time as well, so we can see where they're at.
Yep.
And also the load management system I've got set up that they fill in. I know then who's doing what, and it's also automatically set up to give me like notifications if someone's got said they're too high or too low. I can add things in for like those players in the sessions. Be like, okay, cool, Murph, you gotta go do some extra sprints, or we're doing some more less loading or whatever it may be. And then as we then get to, I also was gonna say then. So as we then, progress through that, I'm looking at the way I'm looking at it is not just an undulating model of load, and not just an undulating model of like direction of movement. I'm also looking at an undulating model of efficiency, movement efficiency.
Yeah, okay.
Meaning that what I'm going to be providing them is base movements, right? Training them base movements, getting better. Once they get really good at it, I'm going to bring it back down to the basic and show me this again. All right. It might be in that 4 to 5 week period. It might be a little bit later, depending on.
To see if they can still do it, or to see if it's easier.
To see if there are any deficiencies still remaining.
Yep.
So it's like the first part was test, which is what I've done. So the seeing how the movement. I've done all their assessments previously. I watched them in their first warm ups and how they run and how they move and what's happening knee, hip, ankle, arm, whatever. And then we go, cool, we've done that. We're going to progress. We've tested, progressed it. And then I want to bring it back to that testing phase and let's see if they should have a change in how they're moving now. That at the moment, unfortunately, I don't have the resources for that to be objective. It is subjective. And I know my players that I'm looking at, like, okay, I need to see this, and this from these guys. That is subjective. But then if we go to that, so like I said, like the deload where I can see that again in movement and they're all far above excelling in that, I can then, cool, the next step is going to be up here.
Yep.
Rather than bringing them back down to movement. So as part of that program, there is a movement capacity program, a movement efficiency component, and then you've got the strength and speed components, and then you've got the reactive agility or agility components, and then you've got obviously your power and your in-gym program.
It's a different way of looking at it, because not many people would look at it, would program movement as an undulating model. They do, they can use every other type of variation, but not many people look at movement as a variation and how to periodize and overload with that. Yeah,
it's a very different model of kind of. It's my model. I've never really put that out actually, so
very smart. Very smart.
I've never really put that out, but that's how I kind of look at things with all my athletes, females and males, to where we would take them.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think my voice is about to go. I think you can hear it
So
going. So I think we've had enough time today. Thanks for tuning in again with us, guys, and staying with us. We will be back very shortly with a brand new episode.
Promise.
Murph Mitise show, and we'll get some more fire coming out. All right, fantastic.
Good stuff, man.
See you guys.
Cheers.